Danvers Conservation Commission meeting for September the 23rd, 2021. We operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaw, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After applicants have presented his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and address first. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes the members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, and property owners and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction regarding such things as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with the other appropriate boards. Before we get started, we'll take a roll call. Vanessa Curran.
Here.
She is here. Can that be turned up? Or maybe it's her. Chelsea King.
Here.
Ann McGill.
Here.
Michael Splain.
Yeah.
And Peter Wilson, present. Okay, first item on our agenda is a public hearing for an amendment request for 21 Ingersoll Street, DEP file number 14-1358. I believe the applicant is the Town of Danvers. And
Hi, good evening, members of the commission, chair and commission. My name is Stephen King. I'm the town engineer for the Town of Danvers. I'm here representing the town for an amendment request to a previously approved order of conditions to construct a fishing pier at the Goodnoe Pond at the Endicott Park estate. We've come to a point where we have started construction on the pier. This amendment request would require us to construct an 826 square foot accessible walkway leading to the handicap parking spots that are in the parking lot at the Endicott Park behind the main pavilion building. It also would include running an electrical conduit from an existing stub pole that's just to the north of the pier, running it to the pier to light it as well for accessible lights, which would be constructed on the pier. This work would be within the 35-foot no disturb and the 50-foot no build zone. We roughly calculated about 5.5% in each as a disturbance within those zones, and we would think that this would be a good next step in the phase of the project to continue with outside of the Eagle Scout project at the fishing pier to use outside contractors to do this walkway so that we can have accessibility completely to the pier. We'd also have to do some re-site grading to make sure that we get the existing topography to flow correctly around the pier, because we have seen quite a bit of erosion in that area. So part of the initial project was actually we did restabilize the shoreline with some koi logs this past summer. That seems to have a good benefit on the existing shoreline and the pier, so that's restabilized itself. Once we're finished constructing this, we'll place some jute netting and do some hydro seeding. They'll establish some growth in that area. So I would take any questions if you have any.
did we issue waivers for this construction?
Waivers were issued for the 35 and the 50 at the time in January.
Okay, now, just my one quick question. You're proposing using concrete, or paver bricks an option?
Oh, there are. I mean, we've talked about stone dust. We talked about paver bricks. That's something I'd have to work with the resource director over there, Mr. Sanborn, to see if we could allow that within the budget of the grant. This is a DCR grant that we received to do this work, so we're trying to work within the confines of that grant. But we can take a look at that options.
So the paver's much more expensive?
Pavers are expensive on the labor side, as far as getting the right person to install them correctly.
Just that there's not a whole lot of concrete walkways in Endicott Park.
They're not correct. A lot of the paths have been stone dust, and they are hard to maintain. So we are looking for something that is substantially going to remain there, because we do see a lot of water flow That's kind of obviously the low spot within the park area, so a lot of the stormwater runoff does head towards that direction.
But I, for one, would like to see pavers, but if the price is prohibitive, I could understand. But I think I heard you say that it's going to be additional grading so that you're controlling the water better around.
Correct, yeah. We're going to have to obviously make the grades work for accessibility at the 1.5% cross slope. There's going to have to be some grade changes, and we'll have to make sure we can work within the confines of the existing topography to make everything match, so we're not creating a bigger disturbance within the property.
Okay, it's become a nice area over there. I was over there yesterday. That's all I have for questions, so I'll pass it along to the other members. And
Is the path that you're constructing with concrete on the current path, or is this a new path?
Right now, it's basically exposed earth and root system and roots. So we have found a spot. We did do some survey work out there, so we have found a clear enough path where we can create a 5-foot walkway in some areas, which is the standard, and then also create a bump out area that's required within every 250 feet for wheelchairs in order to slide over if necessary if someone else is coming the other direction.
Okay, so it's not replacing a pathway?
No,
No, it's brand new. And this jut out here, is that to the parking lot?
both jet outs where it wides out is one goes directly to the handicap accessible spot.
Okay.
The other one is an access point for machines to go in there. If we have trees that fall down in an area that the Parks Department can be able to go in there correctly and not just go over the sidewalk. So that section is going to be 6 inches thick, where they can be able to access over and do any brush removal or tree removal if necessary.
All right, thank you.
is that? Michael?
No, thank you. So, Steve, why is it pavers or concrete? Why isn't it, say, hot top, for example?
Hardtop is going to break up in that area pretty quickly, based on what we've seen for site conditions thus
Yeah.
far and the weather we've seen. Getting that grade to work and have that maintain its stability with the roots in there and in the earth, it's not going to settle right. We'd have to excavate a lot more in order to do that work.
Well, I like the concrete from the standpoint that it's safe access for handicapped, and if that's what you're aiming at, and I'm for that. So I don't have a problem with it, thank you.
Right. We're also trying to keep, I think in matching the aesthetics of the place, I know you talked about pavers. I think concrete would be also a good alternative, but I think asphalt would probably be a little bit out of the norm of what you typically see at the park.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Chelsea, any questions?
Not really. I'm very familiar with this site. I'm at this park like once a week. And I know the path this is kind of replacing is just like a worn out area of the dirt. So I think this will be an improvement overall. Like aside from like access, which is very important, I think this will improve the site. So yeah, I have no issues.
Vanessa, do you have any questions?
No, I also agree that this is an improvement.
Okay, then just one final question on my part. If you had the money, would you do the pavers instead of concrete?
I guess that's more of a question for the Chris Sanborn who runs the show over there. I'm not sure if he'd want to do some type of fundraiser, if people would want to donate bricks, what type of bricks or paver he'd want to use. That's something we can definitely talk about. If you're more inclined to have pervious pavers, we can definitely have the discussion and come back and discuss whatever you discuss our options.
What's your timing on this? You want to do this quickly?
We like to do it within the month of October, as quickly as we can, before the winter hits, because we'll have the fishing pier should be constructed within the next 2 weeks, and then once that's completed, we like to tie in the walkway as soon as possible before the winter.
Okay, so Chris Sanborn is the director over there?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll leave it up to his judgment. Okay, are there any questions from the public? Sir?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. Out of the options presented, I think the worst of them would be the asphalt. Could be somewhat hazardous, as or waste the leaching of the asphalt into the ground or whatever. Again, that would be the last, if not used, as opposed to what was presented with the concrete or the pavers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
Anybody else? Is there anyone online, Dave, that's asking?
I don't believe there's anybody online. I don't want to speak for Chris Sanborn either, but I think for what it's worth from a maintenance standpoint and permanency, the concrete would be probably a better option than the pavers. Only in that the pavers would probably be fine for several years, but if they start to shift or move and they go in to do snow removal with any type of equipment, it could ding a paver and then you'd have to replace that, but
Yeah, I'd be concerned about wheelchair access if the
Right,
pavers do
right.
shift.
Yeah. Right, well, my argument to that is you can go in and repair pavers. Concrete is permanent. You know, and if this park ever goes away for whatever reason, that concrete is there and it's got to be removed. But that's a personal opinion of mine, so. Okay, no other comments from the public? So the first item we need to do is we need to close the public hearing. So if someone can make a motion.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for 21 Ingersoll Street Amendment Request, DEP file number 14-1358.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now if someone wants to make a motion that we amend the existing order of conditions to allow the construction of this walkway?
I'll make a motion to amend the existing order of conditions for 21 Ingersoll Street, DEP file number 14-1358.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Before, let me just take a step back.
Okay.
Any other conditions, Chelsea?
Did we do anything?
No.
No,
No specific conditions.
Okay, motion's been made, is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you
Next
very
up-
much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Steve.
Next item is a notice of intent for 69 North Street, DEP file number 14-1369. The applicant has requested that we continue to 10/14, so if someone can make a motion that we continue the public hearing until then.
I make the motion that we continue the public hearing for 69 North Street, DEP file number 14-1369
To, what's our next date?
to October 14th.
Motion been made, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Notice of intent, 69 North Street, for the subdivision roadway, DEP file number 14-1370. Once again, the applicant has requested to continue to our 10/14 meeting. So if someone can make a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue 69 North Street subdivision roadway, DEP file number 14-1370
Second.
to 10/14.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is a continued public hearing for 100 Water Street, DEP file number 14-1368. The applicant is Paris Pelletier. Is anyone here to represent the applicant?
I believe they're continuing as well.
Oh, they requested a continuance?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. If someone make a motion to continue that until the next meeting, Dave?
The 14th, yes.
14. I'd make a motion to continue the public hearing for 100 Water Street, DEP file number 14-1368 to continue to 10/14.
Okay.
Motion been made, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Continue public hearing, 4 Carroll Way, DEP file number 14-1303. Applicants are Joseph and Ashley Bono.
I'm here representing Dan.
Do we have the responses from Steve King?
Yeah, it's in the
Yes,
memo. Mike.
yeah.
Go ahead, Scott, we just started.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Scott Cameron with the Moore and Cameron Group. Bob White is here from 4 Carroll Way. David, you have the site plan? Perfect.
Is that the one?
Okay, so I presented kind of a sneak preview at the last meeting just to prepare you for what was coming in. We then submitted the plan and the recommendation from Richard Kirby, LEC Environmental Consulting, who is a wetland scientist. He did a inspection of the property on August 6th. A few months of first growing season, I guess, since this winter, and he reported his findings in that letter. A lot of natural growth has come in over the season, and then he prepared the planting schedule and the recommendation on that, which now appears on the plan. The plan also reflects the stormwater management adjustments to the dry well in the rear, which is what we worked through with Mr. King, who had asked that the pipe conveying runoff from an abutting property out towards the wetland be plugged, the dry well to remain. However, he wanted us to do a test hole to confirm its location. We provided photos and documentation of the installation, but he would like us to actually, you know, open it up and locate it, and then when we do a final as-built, make sure that that is on the as-built. And the only work we're doing really in the drainage is the existing pipes that were in the ground. We're going to stabilize those with stone outlet protection, which would include a filter fabric between the stone and the rocks, the ground surface.
Where are those pipes, Scott?
There's a pointer up there too if you need it.
Ugh,
Old school.
He's got his
I
own.
know.
He's got his own.
You can use your finger, it's okay.
So, David, perhaps for anybody watching, we can
Zoom in.
Dim that a little.
or
I
use
don't
the
see
mouse
it.
cursor just to highlight because I can't see maybe what I'm pointing at. But
Oh, okay, now.
this is the drain for the wall drain and the basement foundation drain. So that's groundwater. There's a couple of area drains from this patio, but this is mainly groundwater or what falls in the patio area. And this outlet here is for the dry well in that location. And we did verify, ran a camera up. You could see where the junction is, and then with the photos I provided, you could see the pipes coming out during the installation. So what the dry well is going to remain. It's not receiving any runoff, but it's there if they were ever to do a pool or a patio or any additions in the future, sheds, whatever, they can run the runoff from those areas into that dry well. So it's going to remain in place. And that's the extent of it. So I think at this point, I'll turn it back to the board if you have any.
Two quick
questions.
questions, Scott. Where is the Archdiocese of Boston's property?
David, if you wouldn't mind panning so I could see more to the left. Yep. So that land is here. This is the rear lot line here.
So the dry well is partially on their property?
We're not entirely sure where it is. I clouded there. I have photos. It looks like it's more in this area here under the bocce court. When we ran the camera through each end of the pipe, it seemed like maybe it was a little more in this direction, but we didn't have a locator on it, so we were just kind of eyeballing. We took a measurement from each direction, but it's not, you're measuring on like a spool of the camera coming out. It's not like you're hitting with a survey instrument.
So all of the water that collected behind the wall, with the...
In this area, yeah?
No, down towards the bottom.
Here,
Right.
yeah.
That's going to drain through that,
No, it's plugged. It's being taken offline. They're taking care of their own drainage
So-
issues.
what's going to happen with their water? And there's going to be water collecting there, isn't it?
I don't know what their plan is. They're doing their own thing there now, so they're going to manage it on their own property. I'm not
Okay.
involved with that.
Steve King is okay with that?
This is under his direction. We're following his recommendation.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I just said, what was the reason for plugging that?
Mr. King did not want water going across different properties. He wanted to keep it separate, so the instruction was,
So when you
they
plug
take...
it, where does the water go then?
My guess is they look to put it into the ground, so they'll probably do something to get it into the ground, is my guess. But again, I'm not involved with that. We're just, Mr.
Okay.
King
I was just curious.
was
how
pretty
that was gonna
adamant that
work.
we plug that pipe.
Now, I know my other question was are the Bonos negotiating with the Archdiocese to acquire that property?
They have reached out. I don't know if it's appropriate in this public forum to talk
Right.
about something that is
Yeah,
not definitive.
okay.
That's kind of a private negotiation, but
But that's an issue, isn't it? I mean, it's something that could be across property lines.
yeah, but not necessarily a conservation matter. I think, for the work in the buffer zone, things are stabilized. This whole area up here to begin with was a spoil area from cemetery activities. So there were, grass dumpings and dirt dumpings, and it's, since I've been on this property, going back around 2013 for the first time, that's always been a spoil area. So in the event that, they want it returned back to how it was, they'll take the soil out and they'll do that. But I know the effort is being made. I just don't think it's appropriate to speak to it here.
Okay, we have the letter, Dave, from Mr. Kirby.
We have a response from Rich Kirby. Are you referring to specifically the plantings?
Yes. Yeah, that was the agreement that he was going
There's
to.
a letter that was submitted. It was emailed to Georgia.
Yep, I have a letter here. Do you want me to put it up on the
You
screen?
put it up?
Yep.
That's good.
Good? It's like being at the eye doctor.
Was retained. Based on those conditions, LEC provided recommendations for.
What are the native sapling trees?
If you go back to the planting plan, they're on the table.
And is it a variety of shrubs?
Yes. Able to zoom in on the table. So you have the flowering dogwood is the primary tree, and then the shrubs include hazelnut, viburnum, gray dogwood, so different kind of dogwood, honeysuckle, and witch hazel.
Okay, good.
Very cool.
Okay, that's the questions that I have, so let me ask the other members if they would like to ask questions or offer a comment. So, Ann, go ahead.
No, I was happy with the plantings that we discussed the last meeting. I don't have any questions.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, what's the cost of the plants and the cost to plant all these
I
plantings?
couldn't begin to tell you what the cost is.
Why not?
The prices vary. I don't,
Is-
maybe Mr. White can.
You know?
We have gone to the company, New England Wetland Plants, and they're in.
Excuse me.
Yeah, come over
Get
and
your name
identify
either.
yourself.
Hi, my name is Bob White. I live at 12 Nomkeg Road, Danvers. I'm Ashley Bono's father. We've been in contact with New England Wetland Plants. Again, they're in the Amherst area. We have not got a specific quote from them because we didn't know the number of plants that would be approved or not approved, or the type of plants that would be approved. We've confirmed that the plantings are available, and we would go out and pick those up, but there is not a specific.
You haven't asked for any estimates?
We have not asked for any estimates because it's unknown at this time as to, what you would approve. So.
Well, I think we need to post a bond to make sure this gets done. And does staff have an idea as to what the cost would be for the plants?
So for the For the 2 saplings, the 28 shrubs, and the inspection of a dry well, the town engineer was, in a round number, suggesting $4,500.
And then plantings would be, that's not something you could do in one day.
That's correct. I think any condition for approval of this would be confirmation on a certificate of compliance with a set of as-bills before the bond would be released.
I would probably, if I took the 4,500 and double for, say, $9,000 to $10,000 bond, a performance bond, I'd say 10,000 for a performance bond to make sure it gets done, and then when they get, they could either put up cash or purchase a bond, I suppose, and,
Yeah, those are certainly 2 options, yes,
yeah.
for other bond.
And then they
cash.
get that, they put the money up, they get it back when the project's done. And then if they don't get it done by a certain time, we do it. Would that be the appropriate way to,
That could be. I mean, I hope,
yeah?
it wouldn't get to that. I don't think the DPW would be wanting to install plants on private property, so hopefully that
I
gets
know,
taken care
so
of.
what
but-
happens
Use
though?
the cash
I
to
mean,
hire
No, that would
another
be,
contractor.
yeah, we'd hire a subcontractor.
we'd hire, when I say we do it, I don't mean
Yes.
you, David, or me.
I've talked to Rich Kirby about this, and he is going to assist us, and so we'll have professional assistance in where the plants are located and how they are planted. So I've had that conversation with him. So based on the fact that he's well-versed in the plantings, that we, I guess I would question the need for a bond.
There's, the leverage the commission has is the lien on the property. And bonding private property where the town does not have any ability to enter upon that property would not have the effect I think you're intending compared to a public, like a subdivision roadway project is bonded, because the town could come in and finish that project. You have all the protections you need with the lien that's on the property with the order of conditions. And typically what we see with plantings, when we're doing that work, similar to what is on the planting plan for the road, if you recall with the wetland replication, is they need to survive through a period of growing seasons. Typically that's 2 growing seasons. And then when we file the certificate of compliance request, you have that right to go out and look and make sure that those plants are there. They will not be able to sell the house, they will not be able to refinance it, they will not be able to do a lot of things unless that order of conditions is off the property. So that protection's there. I guess, had I known that this was coming, obviously Mr. King looked at this beforehand, perhaps we could have spoken about it beforehand between staff and talked about this, but I guess that's where I'm at. I don't know what a bond would do. I don't know how that would serve any benefit
So
uh,
we're
whatsoever.
just looking for a guarantee that it's going to get done.
You have it with the permit, with the license.
Well, we issued a permit the first time, and things didn't get done the way we permitted. So we just want to have that a little more firm.
Right, Mr. Chair, though, but the reason we're here is because you exercised your rights under that. You issued an enforcement order, you asked them to come back in, we're going through this process now. You have that right as long as that permit's on the property at any time. And if it expires, again, you have that right to come back in. Just because it expires doesn't mean it goes away. It's permanently on the title, and the only way that leaves is with the certificate of compliance. And I haven't seen a closing in a long time that has gone through, and that's slipped through the cracks. I mean, this is,
No.
it's pretty,
Okay, I mean,
it's
then
the
we're
best
just gonna
leverage
go
you can
back
ask
to the
for.
town council and get his opinion. I just, and I think other members of the board are going to all agree with me, is we want this done properly.
Well,
We
can
want
I just,
guarantee
through you,
that
Mr.
it's
Chairman,
done.
can I just ask
Go ahead, Mike.
David on staff? So, is there any reason we can't ask for a bond to get this done?
And I think you can ask. We do it quite a bit for other private properties for other permits that we issue. If you
Yeah.
want to double check, we can certainly send that to council and get back to you.
Well, if they want us to put it over till we get, I'm going to ask for a bond. I mean, I ask that we have a vote on whether we should have a bond, and and if they want to put it over, the council decides.
I don't know if we want to vote on just a bond. I think we should vote to just continue and get town council's
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, and the bonds aren't here either. The bonds aren't here either. They're the property
Her
owners.
father. So
Yeah, well,
I think he's old. I'm going to open it up to further questions while you guys are discussing. So I think, Mike, are you all set?
Yes, for now.
Chelsea?
I don't have anything.
Okay, and Vanessa is, she's not
recused,
qualified
yeah.
for this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions from the public? Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. The minutes of this meeting are printed up and kept as permanent record with us.
I think everything's in video nowadays.
Excuse me?
They're relying on videos of the meeting?
Okay, yes. My question was, the presentation, I don't think was clear on where the water was, the dry wells. Can that be something that the applicant can put in writing, whether he does know, doesn't know, assumes, so that that written item, whatever, is part of the permanent record? Is that fair to ask?
It's a good question, I don't know.
It's an issue with
I
the
don't-
neighbor that he said he's not, the representative says he's not involved in. Is that right, Mr. Chairman?
Well, my question would be, is there a letter from this neighbor saying that, as opposed to our verbiage right now?
No, I think we're relying on Steve King's overall judgment.
Okay, and I'm not questioning Mr. King's judgment, but to me, it would be, I think, something in writing.
Jesus,
Rather
too
than
bad. We had
someone's
Steve King
recollection.
here. We shouldn't let
Had to
him
run
go.
up something. But again, I mean, I can't answer the question for him. Again,
Well, it's
I have to
just
defer
a
to
question.
his
If you can't
expertise.
answer it, that's fine. You can tell me you're working on it, but my point is that when some decisions or some statements are made, if they're made in writing, so the in writing paperwork stays with the case in case there's a question down the line, it's a referral item.
Well, that would be a report from Steve King that he
Right.
recommended. Is that,
So
do
this-
we
this
have
area-
that,
No, it's
David?
not, but it's not in our jurisdiction either. The only jurisdiction that we're worried about is discharge into the
No,
wetlands.
but it's a report to maybe the planning board or somebody. No?
Yeah, it could be. It's like I'm just saying, I'm deferring to Steve's expertise. Now, this is more his call in the stormwater aspect of this than it is ours.
Again, I don't care who is responsible. It's my important feeling is that something be in writing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Chris, have you decided how you want to proceed?
I guess in response, I thought, David, did you not mention earlier that Steve King you had corresponded? I know Georgia had spoken to him at the last meeting.
Corresponded with him on,
This matter.
This matter, yeah.
This is per Mr. King's direction. We're doing what he asked us to do.
Right.
But I thought that had been corresponded to Georgia. That's what
Uh,
was stated at the last meting.
If I can jump in, Dave.
Sure.
My understanding from talking with Georgia was that you had sent her information and you had asked her to pass it along to Steve. Is that right? And she has passed it along to Steve, and in her notes, she said she expected to hear back from him today regarding it. And if everything, I mean, I'm hearing nothing that says that he did get back to her.
Well, that's what I raised at the beginning. Had somebody heard back from Steve King? Because
this-
I read the same note you read. They were expecting to hear back today.
this morning Georgia heard from Steve King by a phone call. It was nothing formal. We don't have a memo or anything to share with you.
Okay, so. I think
Staff
we're-
was good with this. So theoretically, if it's said and you can provide that, if you write a condition that we have that letter, the letter is provided by Mr. King.
with respect to the plugging and the pipe and everything discussed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, to make sure it's as represented.
Okay, but we still have the
Bond issue.
bond
Regarding the
issue.
bond, if that's what it takes to get through tonight, we don't want to continue this out another meeting because we're losing the whole season here. So if you need to put a bond based on the town engineer's recommendation, which is the standard practice of the town, that's what the planning board follows. Mr. King recommended, did I hear $4,500? I would say allow the Bonos to write a check for $4,500 and put that into the record, however that would work on a private property.
It only covers the cost of the plants, I think, not the, how about we compromise?
Mr. King
Listen,
said that was plants.
7,500, that's a compromise between 10,000 and the 4,500.
Typically, when Mr. King has done the pricing, it is based on prevailing wage rates for the town to do that work themselves.
That's correct. I think in this instance, specifically, he was looking for Rich Kirby from LEC to provide a cost breakdown. Obviously, time ran out on us for that to happen, I think, for tonight, except for the letter we got previously from Rich detailing the plant species. But I think Steve was specking out $4,500 for the cost of the plants and the drywall inspection going forward. I'm not sure from what he has transmitted if that includes labor or that is just the cost of the plantings.
It's for them to do. Whatever, I think we have input from the town engineer. I think $4,500 is more than enough for this, but it's really, it's up to you, I suppose.
Well, I'm going to move that we set a bond at $7,500 as a performance for
Right, and-
this work.
Yeah, that's fine. Just, and we have the mechanics all set to do this, so if we vote in the positive, they can post a bond and they can proceed with their work.
Yeah, so in your regulations and in the bylaw as well, there's a security section, and it does allow you to take performance guarantees of the nature you're talking about. We can work out the details if it's going to be check, cash, or bond later on. But effectively, you'd take that, and it's up to you what conditions you want to put on that. For instance, you could say release of it upon as-built, or however the commission wants to condition it.
Okay, good. Thanks, Dave. Okay, Mike, I think you're probably our best qualified to
All right.
compose a
All right,
motion.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the amendment to the order of conditions for Lot 4 Carroll Way, DEP file number 14-1303, which allows for planting as indicated and represented today in the updated planting plan, that as an additional condition, we require the applicant to post a bond in the amount of $7,500 to be posted prior to starting the work, and to ensure completion of the work. So
Two
that's-
phases of that, Mike. The planting work and the verification of the driveway.
And the verification, yes, as well. So that's the motion.
Shoot, damn it. Okay, before we proceed, I'm just going to take a step back. We need to close the public hearing. So if someone can make a motion to do that.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second the motion?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no, Mike has made a motion. I'm not
I
going to make it
renew that
repeated.
motion, yeah.
But in effect, it said that we are going to, we're proposing that we grant the amendment request with the posting of a bond that covers the work done with the plantings and the verification of the dry well. And I think just to add on to that, that would be verified at the time of the certificate of compliance.
All right, and I know staff's going to require a memo or something from Steve King as to the earlier discussion about the water issue. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're good.
Good luck with
Quick
that.
question before the applicants leave. What is the time limit on the ordering additions moving forward from now to when they should be in front of us with a certificate of compliance application?
Should be 3 years.
3 years from now. Okay, so hopefully we'll see you in a much shorter timeframe. And let's get it done right. Thank you.
We're all done.
Very
Thank you
much.
all.
Hey, Scott, does this work get done now? Start now?
Scott, before you,
They're ready to do it? Yeah? Just off the record.
Scott, there was one more agenda item about the Whipple Hill subdivision stormwater. Do you have any updates on that?
Good evening. Scott Cameron with the Mooring Camera Group. I wasn't prepared to talk about this tonight, but we did meet with Mr. King and Mr. Lane on the site last week. We're submitting the requested documents to them on Monday, and that should complete the engineering review as discussed at our site meeting. And then the work will be completed, and hopefully we're in here in the spring with the closeout request for the certificate of compliance. So it's close. It's just we've been trying to get through the final details with the town engineer.
So presuming your meeting works out to everybody's agreement on Monday, the plans will be submitted and the work will be done when?
As soon as they can schedule it. There's no putting timetables on work right now with the labor issues in the industry.
Is the work mostly fill?
It's finished grading of the detention pond. That's all that's remaining. It's finished grading, so.
Okay, because this has gone on for too long now, so we've got to get this done. That being said, thank you for staying.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No?
No? Okay.
See ya.
I think that's it. So if there's a motion for adjournment?
We would just need to continue the Beaver Brook projects as well to the 14th.
Oh, okay,
What
right.
about Beaver Brook?
Okay, you're right, I'm
They're
sorry, David.
continued.
Next on the agenda is to continue public hearing for Lot 6 on Colin Tawney Drive, DEP file number 14-1332. The applicant has requested that we continue to our 10:14 meeting. If someone can make a motion, we'll continue the hearing until then.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for Lot 6, Colin Drive, DEP file number 14-1332, to continue to the 10:18 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's a 10:18, 10:14.
Oh, 10:14.
Next up, item 7 is a continued public hearing and amendment request for Lot 7, Colin Tawney Drive, DEP file number 14-1333. Once again, the applicant has requested continuing to our 10:14 meeting. So if someone make a motion to continue to that meeting, please.
I make a motion that we continue the meeting, the hearing for Lot 7, Colin Tawney Drive, DEP file number 14-1333, continue to 10:14.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we just had a brief update on the Whipple Hill subdivision stormwater basin work, which we
There's a question.
would like to get done. Is there any other old and new business, Dave?
You have an audience question?
Okay, go ahead. This pertains to the stormwater issues, or?
Again, Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. At a prior Concom meeting, I brought up the subject of surveyors' stakes, the problem with moving them, relocating, what have you. I didn't have anything in front of me. I asked a friend of mine if something in writing is possible, or printing, which I was given, and I'll give to you. It says, the important part is punishable by imprisonment for not more than 6 months or a fine of not more than $200 plus restitution for someone who disturbs a landmark, a surveyor's stake, or what have you. I wasn't clear enough, I guess, and I thought if I gave this to you folks, you would understand what I was talking about.
Okay, do you think that's a problem?
Do I think it's a problem?
Yes. Have you, do you know of instances where people are moving stakes?
There's a question in my mind, and what my mind says is the Wenham Street project, where the individual was cutting down trees adjacent to conservation land. And to my mind, there was a question about the delineation between private property and conservation land. If it was staked off, or surveyed and staked off, if the stakes were in place, or if they had been moved. I had the question, I don't think I heard the answer, so I thought that information might help you folks in trying to make a determination or of some sort, so that in the future, if someone like me has a question, you're aware of what the consequences of someone doing what they shouldn't be doing, and if it's brought to your attention, you'll be able to act on it and perhaps do what that letter or that printing says. If you find an error or someone has violated the town laws, the conservation, that's what you can tell them. If they violated, that would be the consequence. I'd like to think that in Danvers anyways, if someone violates the conservation rules, they be held accountable and not be given a pass because it was quote-unquote inadvertent. Someone moves a stake, they're doing it for a reason. It's not inadvertent. That's why I brought that to your attention.
So you're not suggesting Wenham Street, you're just saying that
I'm citing that
as
as an example, not accusing anybody of doing anything. It stuck in my mind because it came up and I made a statement. I just wanted to clarify my statement to you folks, and I'm not singling out Wenham Street. It's just an example. There are other areas in town where there's conservation land that you folks are trying to protect. Want to make sure nothing happens to those, or any conservation land. That's the reason I provided that, so in the future, if you folks are informed or find out, or however, you can tell a party, this is what the consequences will be if they're...
Oh, yeah, but I would think if you had any information, we'd want to know that, if you had any specific information.
If I had some information, I certainly would. I'm not going to trespass on anybody's property to try to determine if, in fact, there is a violation. I'll leave that up to you folks if it's brought to your attention by me or anyone in town, an adjacent property owner, what have you. I'm not accusing anybody. I just want you to have enough information.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other old or new business that we need to?
Nothing from staff.
None? Okay, hearing none, no other public comment, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to so adjourn.
I second the
Second.
motion. Okay, all right, Vanessa, you can second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
All right.
enough, thank you all.